So we've reached our destination here. We came up first to the what we're calling the #1 tunnel, and that is right behind me. And this site has 3 adits, so we're going to work our way down from #1 to #3. Looks like Drew's already made his way in. Get an idea of how steep it was coming up here. Again, in video it's really hard to show that. We're going to head on inside here. Alright, looks like we got a little bit of water. So this mine, like a lot of the mines in this particular area, dates to around 1899 and had periodic intermittent working throughout the years. So the first thing here we're going to see as we got this winze here, and you can see there's these boards and logs that were put over it as a ramp to protect when you're working in here. You can kind of get a view down in there. Alright, so get around this thing and we'll keep heading in. And I'll show you what that looks like this direction. You can see, looks like maybe some airline or something. And that's actually wood. I guess that was a ladder. So you can kind of see in the center of the screen there where the rungs would have been. That would have been a ladder going down. And this mine, like several others out here, silver, gold primarily. I'm not sure exactly what the assays were on this mine, but I'll definitely double check some notes we have and put it down below. Is that the face? Oh yeah. It's like it faces out right here. So not too particularly long of a tunnel. There's the winze again. Just looking back at the entrance here, which we didn't really look at too closely coming in. It's kind of widened out here, obviously, because of this winze. Get up over this thing. So next, we're going to head down to the #2, which is below us. And we'll see you once we start making our way and get down to the #2. Making our way down, and mostly down now from the #1. I headed for the #2, which is right down in here. We are just at the top of the waste dump right here. You can just make it out. I got Forrest and Drew right there. Alright, so back up in here is the #2 portal. You can kind of make it out right there. So I'm gonna drop the pack, grab our stuff, and then we're gonna start making our way in this one. Then we get out, we'll check out the waste dump a little more, and we'll probably go down that as we drop down to the #3. Okay, got the gear on, and we're heading in. It looks like a little bit of water to deal with, but nothing too terrible. It's about 80 degrees today. Not going to complain too much. Let's see some airline here first thing. Some of the sleepers there for the rail. You can see they still have spikes in them. Both those there. And here's our first look, possibly at some of the vein and minerals in here. So kind of come down the right side of the adit here. Kind of keep our eye on that as we go further in. See again the spikes coming out of these sleepers. Looks like they just pulled the rail. Definitely see the haze here in the camera if it's picking it up. Just the difference in temperature in here to outside. It's creating this fog because it's so warm out, and it's obviously considerably cooler in here. And here we have an area where they were stoping up. You can see some of the material they were chasing right there in front of me in the center of the camera. And then you can see how far up they went. I'm guessing it's maybe 15 feet or so up they went. And again, there's some of the mineralized material. For those of you who are familiar with mines and what you're looking at here, you probably already know what this is just by taking a look here. And this is a winze, and I'm gonna get up on these boards here because I don't want to step where I shouldn't. Pretty good size. Guessing it's, I don't know, 10 feet across, and I'm not sure how wide it is because it's probably under some of these boards here. Make our way around it here and take a look at it from the other side. Another shot of it. I don't believe the records indicate how deep this winze is. When I looked at it, before we came out to the site, I didn't see anything listed for it, but we will double check around again, and if we find something, I will definitely put it below. But it looks like, it's hard to get really super close to this. Plus you can see there's some scum material on top of the water, so it's not a very clear shot in anyway, so it's hard to tell how deep it is. So we'll just continue past that for now. I don't recall what the length or depth of this number 2 adit is. We'll definitely check it out when we get back, and I'll let you know. So here again, some vein that they were chasing through here. You kind of see the material up in here. And a little bit comes down this wall in terms of some of the mineralization versus the rest of the mine itself. Kind of get an idea of the colors and what was going on here. It looks like this continues for, thins out a bit, but it continues here, along here. And that's one thing we get a lot of comments on these mines. Probably first and foremost, yeah, they are wet. They're Washington mines, so they, especially the western side. But these mines were not very long-lived. They generally might have been 4 to 6 years, somewhere in there, and they just weren't very profitable. They're not very big because they didn't last very long. It's like we have a little bit of carbide graffiti in here. It's like Hank, 1949. David, Brent, Jim, 1954. Looks like 78, and maybe a 74 there. So all these could have been miners from other mines or operations, but a lot of times they're mine explorers. Given this mine, it could have been worked in the 40s and 50s a bit. I know it had some activity probably in the 60s through 80s-ish.
Again, hard to say. A lot of times we see mine explorer graffiti, but these could actually be miners from later era. So you see that one there, and there's some just finger graffiti, if you will, scratched in the mud there. Again, you can see some of this vein overhead here. I'm showing you as it kind of runs down through this section, kind of off to the left as we are walking back out. Coming kind of back through that stope. Smaller stoped up area, bigger ones a little further in front of us. You see some quartz up in there, and what? I can't tell if there's pyrite. Looks like there is. Maybe some galena. Hard to see exactly what's going on, but you see all that quartz up in there. More quartz. Quartz vein going through here. Yeah, looks like we have a bit of a explosives dynamite box remnants. You can see all the dovetail bits and pieces down in there. Some of the pieces of the box here. But it's pretty disintegrated. I mean, today this mine's fairly remote and it's a bit of a hike. No real easy trail. Years ago, the road was in pretty good shape and people could drive out here probably as late as the, I don't know, early 2000s maybe. So a lot of these mines just got picked over and people could get whatever they could get out of them. They just could grab the stuff. So not a whole lot left in some of these. And now we're back to the winds here. So one thing we get asked about all the time, sometimes we share it in videos, sometimes we don't, but people do ask us about safety, and so this is one thing we carry, which is a gas and O2 monitor. And so there you can see what our oxygen is at, 20.9, so perfect, and nothing else reading in terms of any of the other gases. Again, just something we get asked about now and again, so I thought I'd share that with you. And you can see this airline here. We're headed back towards the adit entrance here. Looks like some sort of a bolt there. You can see that coming in. I will spare you the splish splash of going back through the water here, and we'll see you when we get on the outside. This is the waste dump for the number 2 that we were just in. I'm trying to make my way down part of it here. It's a little steep, and obviously if you've been on waste dumps, you guys know. I haven't come across any spectacular ore samples, but I'm sure, like many places, the surface stuff has been picked over by rock hounds and other people coming out here. We'll give you another shot of it when we get lower on it as we head down towards the number 3 adit. We're almost to the bottom of the waste dump here. And that's just looking back up, Forrest and Drew up top. Down over here to the right, as we're coming down, there's a motor. We'll go take a closer look at here. Pretty good size motor. So I'm not too sure when this motor was from or what exactly it was used for here. I mean, obviously there's many things it could have been used for, but specifically I'm not sure. But those of you, again, who know your motors and vintage equipment, if you want to comment on what this sucker is, that'd be great. We might have some information on it somewhere, but we'd rather hear from you. So that's just cool to see here. Pan back over to the waste dump here. And back up at those guys. See you when we get down closer to the number 3. We are down to the number 3 adit. It's a bit of a scramble getting down here. Can't see the mess back here. There's blowdowns out in front of the adit. And then you can see this adit obviously has had its issues as well. There's quite a bit of collapse. So I'm going to kind of find my way through these rocks. And you can see a lot of this is just dug material before we get back into the actual hard rock back there. The name on these is you just don't touch anything that you don't need to. Okay. Alright, so we're down in the first part of it here. Just looking back out what we just came through. And you can see these boulders that are cemented into the material above, but in time they can fall out, so we're just gonna not look at that right now. It looks like the water is a couple feet deep here at least, so it's gonna get a little chilly. It doesn't look like there's any rail. Well, actually, I take that back. There is some rail. I just didn't see it at first because there's some boards here. It looks like there's some rail in here. Which is odd that they left the rail in this one. It's pretty accessible considering the others. So we got it going off to the right, and we've got it going forward here. So, kind of see the shoring that we got going on through here. It's pretty cool. Right, so we'll peel off to the right. And go down here first. See some air ventilation pipe right there. So it looks like this lower faces here pretty quick on the right-hand side. Alright, so we'll go back. Alright, you can see it's a little bit of pickup sticks through here. So again, just kind of carefully make our way through here. And the rail just continues back here. See the rail there. As it starts sticking out of the water here. And this is one heck of a mess back in here. Alright, well, I'm going to assess this for half a second and then see what we can do to take a look in there, and then we will see all the kind of comments we get from taking a look back in here. Alright, this is generally what we refer to as a sketchy area. You can see all this material is left down in. All the shoring has failed, and it is pretty old stuff in here. So we're just going to take a peek back in here.
This is definitely some really soft material. This is above the shoring, so all this material is eroded away. And it's looking down below. And fortunately, this doesn't go too much further. So you can see how this is completely collapsed in. And you can see how we're looking above the shoring there. So all this material has come down. So the tunnel would have been right where that header is on the shoring. So it's crazy. Not very typical for Western Washington for this material to be this soft. Sometimes you'll see this in Eastern Washington. Just looking back down one more time there. All right, so there's one last look back, what we just came out of there. It's a very interesting tunnel there. I haven't seen one quite like that. Like I said, in Western Washington, most of them that have some issues, but not that soft a material. All right, so we're back in the water here. We're gonna head back towards the entrance, and I think we're doing this one at a time just because this mine isn't the friendliest, if you will, as you just saw. So we're just going to put one person in at a time. This is a safety precaution. And I'm kind of making my way back to the entrance so one of the other guys can go in. Coming up out of the water. You can definitely see all these boulders that have fallen. And you can just see that this, like I said, this portion just isn't the friendliest at all. Needless to say. Almost back to the entrance, and there we are. So now we're at the site of the mining camp and where it was, and there's not a lot left here. There are some items, mostly pots, pans, stove parts, a few other maybe unidentified items. And here we have stove parts, and this looks like a wheelbarrow here. You can make out what's left of that here. It's pretty old. This is probably, I'm guessing, it could be early 1900s, 20s, 30s. But this stuff's been here for some time. And like I said, there isn't a whole lot left here. A few parts to a jug. And some other stove parts there. And that's really the majority, I think, of what's out here from the mining camp. And you can kind of see the camp would have been all through this area here. Well, that about does it for our trip to this mine. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we appreciate you coming along with us. And thank you for following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our channel. We'd love to have you. Remember to like and comment, and until our next adventure, take care.